were performed from the 28th of May to the 4th of June in the S5A building. The flight meeting on the adapter was performed on the 5th, D-7, the first day of the combined ops schedule.
This marks the entry of the final phase of the launch campaign, which started on 23rd of April with the structural integration of the launcher, followed by the electrical and pneumatic controls in the launcher integration building. After the assembly and functional controls, the launcher was transferred on its launch table to the final assembly building on the 31st of May.
The passenger in the lower position, Eutelsat 7C, arrived at the airport on the 29th of May. It was transferred to the S5C building and then started the electrical checkout test. As Eutelsat 7C is a full electric platform and already loaded with 900 kg of xenon, the flight meeting of Eutelsat 7C on the adapter was done on June the 7th. Then, the day after, the spacecraft was transferred directly from the S5C building to the BAF. The Eutelsat 7C satellite was installed on the launch vehicle on the 11th of June, followed by the T-16 on the 12th of June as part of the upper composite. The general West rehearsal was performed on Friday the 14th and went well. No more activities except battery charging are now scheduled until the launch.
After assessing the actual preparation status, the launcher readiness review shall give us the authorization to transfer to the launch pad on T-1. Today we have performed the fueling of both cryogenic stages. Once the ground installations and the launcher are then put into flight configuration, we shall conclude with the final countdown sequence before liftoff. Special thank you goes to all the operational teams for their efforts and the contribution to take us through this so far very smooth launch campaign.
Joshua Jample back in the booth with my friend Lise Pedersen. Good evening.
Good evening, Joshua.
Fifth launch of the year for Arianespace, the second Ariane 5 of 2019. 2 telecom satellites going up, their combined weight just under 10.6 tons, only possible on an Ariane 5. Some 1,700 people working around the space base in all. Our cameras are here in Jupiter and, of course, out on the launch pad. But many others are at work in many other sites across the range. One of them is right here. This is the launch zone, where the launch management teams are working under the direction of the Launch Complex Operations Manager, Klaus Zell. You can see him here. You saw him in the film a moment ago. The work done up there carried out by 2 teams, one responsible for executing flight chronology, and the other responsible for verification of the flight worthiness of the Ariane 5 vehicle, the quality people. Now, the Launch Complex Operations Manager, Klaus Zell, coordinates with Mission Control for final authorization to launch. When all the conditions are right, he and nobody else, he then okays the automatic sequence that we just saw at -7 minutes. He unleashes that. In all, about 100 people up there, hard at work. Countdown, a very complicated process and a long one. Final countdown actually began at 7:20 this morning. That's 11 hours ago, with first checks of the inertial measurement and geometric units. The safeguard subsystem was switched on at that time. Split screen image here showing the propellant feeder arms in the middle of the launch vehicle. Liquid hydrogen on the left, LH2, liquid oxygen on the right. What are they doing? Well, they're putting propellant into the upper stage tanks, and you'll see the arms pull back at 7 seconds before ignition, and you see them right there, the yellow bars going from the gantry on the right into the upper stage on the left. It's one of the last things you'll see before liftoff, so we just like to take a minute and point it out. Minute and a half to go. The electrical power supply has been switched on from the ground to on board. Remember Ariane weaning from her roots in the ground to autonomy in flight. And here in Jupiter, the invited guests have begun to make their ways outside to watch the liftoff.
Tous de DDO. Attention pour le I0, moins 1 minute.
The DDO is going to call out the 1 minute mark.
Top I0, moins 1 minute.
So we're into the final 60 seconds. Give us a chance to say hi to all our friends at Maxar in the US, headquarters in Westminster, Colorado, and Palo Alto, California, where the teams who built the satellite are watching, to our friends at Eutelsat headquarters in Paris, where you're hosting a big event. Good evening to you. Locally, to the French Guiana sites, to our industrial partners, to ESA and CNES, and to all of you following on the internet. We hope you're enjoying the broadcast. If you're not settled in, please do so. We will cut away, let you listen to the DDO as he calls out the final seconds. Remember, watch out for the cryogenic arms to open. That sets the ball rolling.
À tous les DDO, attention pour le décompte final. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, unité, top. Allumage moteur Vulcain. Allumage UAP et top décollage. Les paramètres bons sont conformes à l'attendu.
18:43 local time and right on time. You saw it. Ariane 5 began her mission roaring off from the ground here in French Guiana with a lot of fire going up through the thin cloud layer. We had so much rain today, we didn't think we'd have any visibility at all. But look at her go. She's carrying 2 satellites, 2 new telecom satellites, the 2 boosters providing 90% of our thrust right now, propelling the launcher along her trajectory at an ever higher velocity. 775 tons at liftoff. And to get that sort of mass off the ground, you need a lot of push. And you can see, push we have. She's burning 5 tons of fuel every second. That's 2.5 tons of fuel every second in each booster. And the core stage burning another 300 kilos of fuel per second. Into the blue sky she goes, beginning her 5th mission of the year. Ariane 5 now following the program in the onboard computer, which gives all the orders, including stage separations, which we'll soon begin to see in about 20 seconds. We're in the first of 4 flight phases, and we'll describe each in turn and in detail. You can follow Ariane as she heads east across the Atlantic. The first 3 phases are powered, like this one, and the 4th is not. Right now, the first flight phase, the single first stage engine and the 2 boosters are burning. Another about 12 seconds for them. And they will be the first to be extinguished. And you'll hear that from the DDO, but also with the camera work we have, you'll see the flame out there. Should be right about now. That looks like the flame out right there. You are. The 2 boosters falling away on either side. You see that very clearly. And the dot in the middle, that is the core stage Ariane continuing on her way. Very clear shots. Haven't seen this in quite a while. The first flight phase using both cryogenic and storable propellant. Cryogenic in the main stage, the dot that's still burning, and storable propellant in the boosters, who have done their job. There are pros and cons to each. Cryogenic propulsion offers certain advantages as getting us off the ground, and it is more precise. The DDO has confirmed, of course, separation of the 2 boosters. The boosters will fall away about 500 kilometers from shore into a protected area. Next up, fairing separation, and with this visibility, you'll probably be able to see that as well. And you can see that perfectly clear. The 2 light blue dots, those are the 2 halves of the fairing falling away from the mothership. We haven't seen clear skies like this in at least a year. So this is a wonderful, wonderful sight. Ariane, the main dot in the middle, the dot of light, is the first stage continuing again on her mission. The 2 points of light falling away, those are the halves of the fairing. We don't even need the onboard camera that we have because this is much better. Fairing separation coming at 112 kilometers up, roughly, because we're out of the Earth's atmosphere. If you can take your eyes away from the site in the middle, just briefly look on the bottom left of your screen. We see our altitude 140 kilometers, and on the right, the bottom right, approaching 3 kilometers per second. Now, the speed we need to separate a satellite, if you remember, between 8 and 9 kilometers per second, roughly, because it's roughly the speed of the turning Earth. So when you see the numbers on the bottom of the screen approaching those figures, you'll know we're nearing separation time. Arianespace is part of Europe's space effort, which is a three-way affair among ESA, the European Space Agency, you saw Charlotte Biscoe there, the French Space Agency, CNES, and Arianespace, the third partner. You find them all here, along with the customers. Arianespace operating the family of launchers and marketing the launch services of the Ariane program, and the Ariane program, I should say. ESA funding new programs, and CNES overseeing coordination of all space-based operation. Guyana Space Center, the world's only dedicated commercial space base, where Arianespace operating the launcher family, Ariane 5, soon to be Ariane 6, Soyuz and Vega, soon to be the updated Vega C, Vega C4 consolidated. So we are on our way since 5 minutes using Ariane 5, the heavy lift launcher carrying 10 tons tonight. We're going to go to the first of what we hope are several launch replays. And you can relive those vivid pictures and those exciting moments as you saw Ariane come roaring off the pad. Other replays probably coming up. I'll interweave the commentary in between them. We're in the second powered flight phase, the single-engine core stage, still burning. Another minute or so to go before it shuts down. Here's your second replay. We have at the base here 5 or 6 observation sites, and we have cameras at most of them. Sites named for local birds. There's toucan, there's a colibri. Colibri is French for hummingbird. Here's another replay from the ibis, the red ibis. That's another bird. That's a observation site just back of us here on the hill. Look at that. We were so worried this morning because we had such rain and such cloud cover, and we thought we're going to never see anything. Ariane will disappear after 10 seconds into the clouds. But take a look at that. Wonderful. 7 minutes. We mentioned we separated the fairing now because we're out of the dense layers of the atmosphere, neither friction nor heating, which could disrupt the passengers. We can also get rid of any dead weight. We don't need it. The fairing weighs about 2.5 tons, so we can get rid of it now. Coming up, we're going to be picked up by our downrange tracking station at Natal over the border in Brazil, I believe, right?
That is right. And it looks now Natal has gone yellow, which means we have been picked up by our second tracking station, Natal over the border in Brazil, which tracks the lower stage burnout and separation. So as we were telling you at the start of our broadcast, all of Ariane's trajectory has been designed to be followed from the ground. The launcher's functions and vital signs are recorded throughout the entire launch, and they're sent back to a network of stations that keeps constant watch on the health of her systems. In all, information on some 1,500 parameters is collected. And what do the ground stations like Natal do with all this information? Well, customers get immediate data on their spacecraft, which is, of course, very important. Some data are analyzed in real time, and other data are studied after the flight to learn how the vehicle performs on its mission, and a complete analysis is carried out in the weeks following the launch. So you just heard the DDO, yes, talking about Natal in Brazil, which was picking up the signals. So the complete analysis is carried out in the weeks following the launch, and that provides a wealth of technical information for better performance and robustness.
All right. We've had, as you've seen on the screen, the cutoff of the lower stage, the separation of the lower stage, and the ignition of the upper stage. You saw the ignition on the animation. Confirmation from the DDO of those 3 events coming on time at about 168 kilometers up. Those orders given in about 13 seconds by the onboard computer. Onboard computer, of course, taking over from the ground control. Lower stage falls into the Atlantic off the Gulf of Guinea. So if you've been following, we're now in the third and final powered flight phase. The single upper stage engine is burning now. We'll burn until plus 2502, 16 more minutes, roughly. The job of the upper stage takes the satellites to their injection point, positions them for separation, and then releases them. That's its propulsion role. But we mentioned the fourth flight phase, which is not powered, called ballistics phase. She has another role at that time, and we'll have more on that later on. Turning to the passengers, our first look now at T-16.
Hi, I'm Véronique Loisel, and I am T-16 Program Director at Arianespace. My work mainly consists in interfacing with our customer for all subjects linked to technical matters, but also contractual, communication, financial, insurance, and legal aspects. Our job is to respond at best at our customers' requests. As you know, this mission of VA248 Ariane 5 ECA is to bring into GTO orbit 2 satellites, among which T-16 as the upper spacecraft, manufactured for a leader provider of digital television programs. This spacecraft, weighing about 6,330 kilos, is based on the well-known Eurostar 3000 Airbus DS platform. It is equipped with a hybrid propulsion system, first using chemical propulsion for his orbit raising, and then electrical propulsion for station keeping throughout satellite life. T-16 will be the 130th spacecraft from these manufacturers to be launched by Arianespace. About 2 weeks ago, on D-9, T-16 was integrated on the CILDA structure, which later encapsulated Eutelsat 7C, the passenger located in the lower position. T-16 will therefore be separated first, followed by Eutelsat 7C. The T-16 satellite will provide high-power broadcast services in Ku and Ka bands. This spacecraft is designed to be flexible and is capable of operating from any one of 5 different orbit slots. It will cover the continental United States, Alaska, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, and the American Virgin Islands. In a few minutes from now, we will witness the separation of T-16 and the start of its 15 years of design life in space.
T-16, built by Airbus Defence and Space, can be operated from 5 different orbital slots. That's something you don't see every day. From 99 degrees west to 119 degrees west, according to demand. If you're keeping score, 99.2, 101, 102.8, 110, and 119. Running on hybrid propulsion, using chemical for orbit raising and electrical for station keeping. Co-passenger Eutelsat 7C is an all-electric satellite, and we'll have a little more detail on that when it's Eutelsat's turn. Tonight is a standard double launch, 2 communication satellites, but remember, throughout the long career of the Ariane family and Soyuz and Vega, for that matter, Arianespace has launched for all types of missions and all types of orbits. Another look now for more on T-16 and its prime, Airbus.
Acquisition de la télémesure par la station d'Ascension.
a fruitful cooperation between Arianespace and Airbus going back to the time when Arianespace itself was formed back in 1980. T-16 is the 130th Airbus satellite to be launched by the company, and there are another 20 Airbus-built birds in the backlog. Arianespace and Eutelsat also go back a long way. First Arianespace launched for the Paris firm in 1983, Eutelsat 1. Tonight's is the 33rd Eutelsat satellite launched by Arianespace, over half its total fleet. I think Stefan Israel mentioned that. And there are additional 7 in the order book for upcoming missions, including the first commercial order for Ariane 6. You may have heard Europe is developing the successor to Ariane 5, the decision taken by the ESA Ministerial Council 5 years ago. It will be a more market-driven vehicle to meet customer needs and market changes, including, oddly enough, electrical propulsion, of course. Ariane 6 will have shorter and more streamlined launch campaigns. 7 Ariane 6s are already in the backlog. First launch, 2021. At the same time, a new version of the Vega, called the Vega C, being ready to fly her maiden voyage next year. Now, what's interesting is the engine for the Vega C first stage on the Ariane 6 boosters is the same, called the P120C. It's the world's biggest single-block engine. And they started testing its different elements last year, and in January, it was successfully tested in Vega configuration, and coming up in November, they will test it for Ariane 6. A first look now at our second passenger, Eutelsat 7C.
Welcome to the European Spaceport in French Guiana. My name is Beatriz Romero, and I am the Arianespace Program Director in charge of the customer interface and mission preparation for Eutelsat 7C launch services. Eutelsat, one of the world's leading telecommunication operators, has entrusted us for the launch of this satellite, and it will fly in the lower position of the Ariane launcher 248. Eutelsat 7C has been manufactured by Maxar in Palo Alto. Let me introduce you the Eutelsat US Programs Director, Mr. Arlen Kazilian. Good afternoon, Arlen.
Good afternoon, Beatrice.
Which is the main mission of the satellite and the market that Eutelsat is targeting?
The satellite will serve markets across Africa, Europe, and Middle East through 4936 MHz equivalent Ku band transponder. It will be co-located with Eutelsat 7B at 7 degrees, increasing capacity for this dynamic video neighborhood by 19 transponder. Eutelsat 7A will be then relocated as part of the Eutelsat fleet optimization strategy.
Eutelsat 7C is based on the new version, all-electric, of the well-known 1300 platform. What has been the main challenges during the development and the manufacturing of the satellite, and what are the advantages of this all-electric platform?
All-electric satellites provide efficient solutions for satellite operators by reducing launch mass while increasing spacecraft flexibility and performance. Eutelsat has been a pioneer in all-electric platforms since 2015, collaborating with many major satellite suppliers. A non-electric platform results in a satellite of lower mass and volume that allows Eutelsat to take advantage of favorable launch opportunities, notably launching with the lower position of an Ariane 5, which is a common interest for both Eutelsat and Arianespace.
Thank you very much, Arlen. We have 7 other Eutelsat satellites in our backlog, so we look forward to see you soon for another launch campaign.
Yes, thanks, Beatrice. To conclude, as Eutelsat always says, go Ariane, go Maxar, go Eutelsat 7C.
While you were watching the film by our third downrange tracking station, as the DDO says, all is well on board. That's over in Libreville on the west coast of Africa in Gabon. Arianespace off to a flying start in 2019. We launched with tonight 2 Arianes, 2 Soyuz, and 1 Vega. First launch of the year was in February, 2 telecom satellites. The first Soyuz, 6 satellites for the OneWeb group. The first Vega in March, Prisma for the Italians. And in April, the second Soyuz with 4 more O3B satellites for SES. So the entire Ariane family performing perfectly, orbiting, if I'm counting correctly, 16 satellites in all. Mainly telecoms, except for Prisma. A second film on our second passenger coming up for you now. Some numbers for you. Tonight is the 71st launch of this version of the Ariane 5, the 310th mission performed by the Ariane family of launchers, and the 104th on an Ariane 5. T-16 and Eutelsat 7C are the 605th and 606th satellites launched by Arianespace, and they are the 213th and 214th to be launched by an Ariane 5. Before tonight, 374 geostationary satellites, both main and auxiliary payloads, have been orbited by Arianespace. 4 minutes to go in the upper stage burn, cut off due in 25 minutes. Up next, a look at Eutelsat's prime contractor, Maxar. And during the film, we were picked up by our last downrange tracking station in Malindi in Kenya. It sees upper stage burnout and satellite separations, coming up on extinction of the upper stage engines. And it receives Ariane 5 data the longest for 3 hours after liftoff. Malindi was also the site of the San Marco launch pad, the Italian launch project that functioned between 1964 and 1988. Coming up on upper stage cutoff, we'll hear the DDO call out that announcement. And you see the nozzle shutting down on the animation. Cutoff occurring right on time. Ariane has now reached her maximum speed. You can see on the lower right, 9.3 kilometers. And you'll now see her begin to slow down. When she separates T-16 in about 2 minutes, her speed will be already down to 9.1 kilometers per second. When she releases the Silda, that's the carrying structure for the second passenger, at plus 29 minutes, she'll be flying at 8.5 kilometers per second. And when she separates Eutelsat 7C at plus 33 minutes and 59 seconds, 8 kilometers per second will be her speed. Now, with the power shut down, not only do you see our speed start to drop, but we're also moving into a new coasting phase, and we'll have more on that in a moment. But for now, it looks like we're up at the CVI where you were recently, right? Indeed, yes, the CVI, or Quick Look Telemetry Display Control Center. It's on a hill not far from us here at Jupiter. And all the information regarding the launcher comes from the downrange tracking centers I mentioned to you earlier, starting with the Galliot Center here in French Guiana. And I was lucky enough to visit the CVI earlier, where the teams were in the midst of a tracking rehearsal. And they were going through various launch scenarios in order to ensure perfect communication on the day. Each member is responsible for a specific area, from propulsion to control and trajectory. And it was a fascinating moment as I watched the head of the team brief his colleagues ahead of the rehearsal, saying it was important for each member to stick to his own music sheet for the melody to be good. And that was the person you see that right there on the screen. The idea being for the team as a whole to find its rhythm. So right now the CVI team is following all the key flight data coming in and reporting the flight status of the launcher back to the teams here in Jupiter. The announcement you hear being made by the range control manager, or the DDO as he is called, come directly from the CVI. And we are coming up in less than 30 seconds on confirmation from the DDO on separation of our upper passenger. You see on the left of the composite, the blue and gray are the solar panels folded up. That's due in just about 10 seconds. Always a moment of high concentration. The teams have gone through this before, but it does call for tremendous focus. You don't want to say tense, I guess concentrated, focused, gives you an idea. All eyes on the computer screens, all ears on the phones, awaiting word. There's the scheduled separation on the animation.
Séparation du satellite haut T-16.
And that's what we were waiting for, confirmation from the DDO. And you see Chris Ho looking happy. You will notice that the people in the hall here, after this first good news, successful separation of our first passenger,
Manœuvre d'orientation au
T-16,
profit du système de
you
lancement
notice
double Ariane.
that the people here in Jupiter politely holding their applause because the mission isn't over. We still have to separate our final passenger, Eutelsat 7C. That's coming up in just under 5 minutes, I would say. Before that, we have the Silda separation. The Silda, remember, that's the black bell-shaped structure on the left. Underneath that is Eutelsat. This structure lets us carry a second passenger. You'll hear the DDO call that out. Looking ahead, we have a minute before Silda separation. After separation, the satellites go to GTO. You've heard that term, geostationary transfer orbit. This will be the end of the Ariane mission, but life, of course, just beginning for the passengers. Ariane puts satellites into a transfer orbit, not the final orbit. The satellites get to their final slots under their own power, and that can use up a lot of the satellite's onboard fuel. And that fuel is its lifeline and its lifetime. Tonight's satellites have to live 15 years, remember, which is why it's important to save fuel. And this is done by what they call optimization of the trajectory. That's an Arianespace specialty. Ariane injects the satellites closer to their final orbits, and this is possible due to the extra performance capabilities of the Ariane 5 with its 10-ton capability. There you see on the animation scheduled separation of the Silda.
Séparation du système de lancement double Ariane.
And the DDO's confirmation of that. Out over the Indian Ocean. So we are still in the ballistics phase. T-16, take a look at what will be its first maneuvers in space.
Now that T-16 has separated from the launch vehicle, the customer teams will take over in the management of the layup phase. The first important step is expected about 15 minutes after separation, with the first acquired telemetry downlink. Within the next 2 hours, the platform initialization, including solar panel partial deployment, will be performed, followed by a sequence of 4 apogee engine firings, beginning tomorrow and ending 5 days later. It is only after the completion of this phase that the reflectors and the solar panels will be fully deployed. The Earth acquisition is foreseen about 1 week after launch. Then the layup team will begin the in-orbit testing phase, first with the platform and then with the payload. Finally, delivery to the customer is expected by the end of summer after a drift phase to its on-station orbital location.
Eutelsat 7C is the first all-electric satellite built by Maxar. All-electric propulsion, very interesting trend in the industry, lets you cut your mass at liftoff by half. And you notice that the Eutelsat weighs about half of the T-16. The trade-off, however, is that it's less efficient for orbit raising and getting to your final destination. Now, in Maxar's case, the satellite will be handed over to Eutelsat in the 4th quarter of the year. That's after 120 days. So what they did was simply order the bird 4 months earlier and solve the problem. We're coming up on upper stage. No, we won't. Not upper stage cutoff. We're coming up on our last video, relationship between Arianespace and Eutelsat.
We are very close to the end of the mission, and we are back with Arlen before the spacecraft separation.
This campaign has been shorter than usual. It benefited from the capability of Maxar to load all the xenon propellant in Palo Alto. With no auxiliary propulsion system, we also avoided hazardous fueling operation in Kourou. We have therefore been able to move directly to a combined operation just after the completion of the standalone test, which Maxar executed very efficiently.
Our work will be almost finished after sending the separation order, but you have a lot to do from this point on. What are the main operations that will follow the separation of the spacecraft from the launch vehicle? And when is planned to arrive to the final orbit and to enter into service?
The first important layup operation will involve the deployment of the solar array, followed by the electric thrusters. After initial checks are made, the orbit raising phase is expected to last just under 4 months. The in-orbit test will follow shortly afterwards, aiming for a start of the service by the end of 2019.
We have a minute to go before Eutelsat separation. Remember our mass at liftoff? Can you remember back? 775 tons. What's left of that, do you think, of the composite on the right of your screen? We got the upper stage, empty of its fuel, 4 tons. Vehicle equipment bay, 1 ton. Eutelsat, 3.4 tons. And an adapter, 100 kilos. Roughly 8.5 tons. Less than 10 tons placed in orbit, down from 775 tons to get them there. So most of her weight, you have realized, is fuel. Coming up on separation of Eutelsat tonight, representing years of work for many of these people. Across the base, everyone attentive as we near separation, as they await the DDO's confirmation of separation of their satellite, just like the T-16 people went through the same moments ago. Again, a moment of high concentration. And there's a scheduled separation, waiting for the DDO confirmation.
Séparation du satellite bas Eutelsat.
All right, well, you heard the applause and you see the smiles, and the cigars and the champagne will be forthcoming. Smiles all around. The final good news, Ariane 5 delivered her second passenger Eutelsat 7C over the Indian Ocean. So from the tense minutes just moments ago, you see the change here in Jupiter all across the space base, and at all the points across the world where people are following the launcher and the successfully deployed satellites. Work is just beginning, or soon will be, at the ground stations. Now, if we've got a minute before our speeches, time for the quiz question. You ready for this?
I'm ready, Josh.
All right, listen up. Can you guess how many kilometers Ariane 5 will fly during her mission tonight? I repeat, once again, Arianespace quiz question number 248. How many kilometers will Ariane fly, will she have flown, in all during her mission tonight? You got an idea? If you do, hold on to it. Give you the answer in a moment. Eutelsat LEOPS, her first 2 acquisitions in Australia, in Yangara and in Urala. Solar array, 3 hours after liftoff, 4 months of orbit raising, remember. We're waiting for the traditional post-launch speeches, and we'll be hearing from Stefan Israel of Arianespace, the podium being set up right now. After Stefan Israel, Aziz Bouya of Airbus Defence and Space, Johan Leroy from Eutelsat, and Paul Este from Maxar. Some of these people seated on the VIP side of Jupiter as we go to another replay. Other replays, one after the other. You can relive those moments half an hour ago, just a short half an hour ago. You said your heart was beating when you watched, yeah?
It was, and it was, as you said, apparently a beautiful, beautiful evening for a launch.
Fabulous.
And everyone out there on the terrace was very silent. I think everyone was very emotional.
Really?
Well,
No oohs and ahs? There were
a few, but, quite muted. I think people were very emotional, yes.
Terrific. So if that doesn't, ladies and gentlemen, give you the impulse, inspiration to come down and watch a launch, I don't know what will. Stefan Israel making his way to the podium. His is the next voice you'll hear.
So, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, Arianespace is delighted to announce that T-16 and Eutelsat 7C have been separated as planned on the targeted geostationary transfer orbits. For this second Ariane 5 launch of the year, our heavyweight vehicle has once more performed perfectly. Congratulations to all. Let me first thank our customer for T-16. 26 years after DBS-1, this 11th mission together is a new bright success. I would like to thank Christopher O, T-16's mission director, with us tonight. Thank you for your trust. I also want to congratulate our long-lasting partner, Airbus Defence and Space, for the delivery of the satellite. Indeed, T-16 marks the 130th ADS-made satellite that Arianespace has orbited. Thank you for this remarkable partnership. I would like to thank Aziz Bouya, Head of Telecom Satellite Programs, who is with us tonight in the CSG. Now, I want to express my deepest gratitude to our second customer tonight, Eutelsat. Tonight, we celebrate the 33rd successful mission together since 1983 with ECS-1. ECS-1 has flown aboard the 6th Ariane. Between the historical 6th Ariane launch and our new launcher Ariane 6, there is our fruitful partnership with Eutelsat. Eutelsat has been the first commercial customer to have bought a geo-launch aboard an Ariane 6. And indeed, we have a lot to do together because we have seven more Eutelsat satellites in our backlog. And we will soon orbit 2 more satellites for Eutelsat, Connect and Quantum. So I would like to express my warmest thanks to Rodolphe Belmer, CEO of Eutelsat. Rodolphe is with his teams in Paris. So thank you very much, Rodolphe. And we have tonight with us a special representative from Eutelsat, Mr. Johan Leroy, who is Deputy CEO and CTO, and who is our best negotiator and partner. We are looking forward to welcome you here again, Johan, and all the Eutelsat teams for our next flights. I also want to congratulate our US partner, Maxar, and Paul Este, Chief Operating Officer, who is with us tonight. Eutelsat 7C marks the 64th Maxar satellite launched by Arianespace. Thanks for this long-lasting partnership. Now, let me congratulate all our partners who played their part in tonight's success. The second for Ariane tonight, they are the Ariane family, and I would like really to thank them. ESA and all the member states of the Ariane program whose support is essential. Ariane Group, Ariane 5 prime contractor and first shareholder of Arianespace. CNES, Ariane 5 Design Authority and our daily partner here in the Guyana Space Center. Also our contractors in French Guyana and all employees at the launch facility. And of course, and you will understand it, I want to pay my tribute to all my Arianespace colleagues. It is for Arianespace the 5th success of the year, which is absolutely remarkable. So I would like now to welcome on the stage our customers and partners. Thank you very much.
Wonderful evening. Thank you, Stéphane, for this first speech. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Airbus and our customer, I would like to thank Arianespace, Ariane Group, CNES, ESA, and Airbus for making this launch a great success. Very warm thanks to Chris, our customer, for his dedication and hard working during this campaign. Well done, and thanks again. It was also a pleasure to share this launch with our friends and colleagues from Eutelsat and Maxar, and we made it together. So this VA248 launch is a special one for us, because it is the 50th Eurostar 3000 that we are launching and made by Airbus. These days, we are as well celebrating the 50th anniversary of Airbus company. So no doubt for Airbus folks today, the winning number is 50. The T-16 satellite that we just launched is an impressive extra-large spacecraft in terms of mass, size, power, and capability as well for the DTH broadcast on its coverage. T-16 has been delivered on time, and this once again proved the Airbus industrial excellence. I would like to thank all Airbus team across Europe, led by Jean-Michel, who contribute to this achievement. The job is not over. Our team back in Toulouse is working as we speak to rise T-16 on its final orbital slot and to do all the in-orbit testing during the summer. And then the spacecraft will be fully operational end of August. So it's time for all of us to celebrate this very special success and very wonderful launch. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everybody. I'm delighted to be here in Kourou once again, this time for the launch of Eutelsat 7C. Arianespace is one of Eutelsat's most long-standing partners, and vice versa. We've been working together since our first launch in 1983. At the time, it was Ariane 1. Some of us were not born. And it is a pleasure to be able to celebrate yet another successful launch with you today, our 33rd together in almost as many years. We are also very pleased to share this success with our satellite manufacturer, Maxar, as well as with our partners for this launch, Airbus and AT&T. You've heard a lot about Eutelsat 7C already during this evening, so I will not repeat. This satellite will be located at 7 degrees east, one of our most dynamic video neighborhoods, which already broadcasts 500 channels and serves key customers such as Digiturk in Turkey, Azam TV in Tanzania, and Movie TV in Zambia. We look forward to putting it into service to continue building the momentum at this orbital location. Eutelsat 7C is the third satellite to be built by Maxar for Eutelsat. It is the first all-electric satellite to be built by Maxar Technologies, and we are proud, Paul, to have worked together with you on this over the past few years. Eutelsat 7C will be the fourth all-electric satellite to join the Eutelsat fleet. And there are 4 more to come out of the 6 we have under procurement. So what's next for Eutelsat 7C? Actually, this is just the end of the beginning. First, the good news is that it's crying. We link from the stations we have in Australia. The Eutelsat and Maxar teams have taken control of the satellite from Palo Alto, and over the next few hours, we will therefore deploy the solar panels, followed by the electric thrusters. This will be for us the moment when we can confirm that we are really on our way. The satellite will climb gradually to the 7 degrees east orbital location, where it is expected to go into full commercial service by the end of the year. To conclude, I would like to give my big thanks to all the teams who have worked hard over the past weeks, months, and years, and who have made this success possible. in particular for Maxar, Grant, Michel, Greg, Paul, but also John and Lucio. For Ariane Group, Roland, Cyril, Béatrice, Geneviève, as well as Jacques, and for CNES, Hugues and his team. I could not end without thanking as well the Eutelsat technical teams in the engineering, satellite operations, fleet deployment and service operations, who have not only been working day and night over the past 3 years, but who are going to continue over the next weeks to make this fully a reality. I won't name you all, but I would like to tell you that first, the holidays are not for now yet, and second, that you are doing a fantastic job, and I am very proud to be your boss. I would like to end by saying hello to the Eutelsat teams who have followed the launch in all parts of the world, and especially in Paris, where I know that a lot of my colleagues, as well as many members of the Eutelsat family, are watching us live. I'm sure that you are as proud as I am tonight to be a member of the One Eutelsat team. As the German philosopher Hegel said, nothing great in the world has been accomplished without passion. The good news is that we are passionate, and let's keep it that way. Go Eutelsat 7C. Thank you.
Bonsoir, Mesdames et Messieurs. Thank you, Johan, for your kind words. Appreciate it. On behalf of Dan Jablonski, CEO of Maxar, I would like to thank Stefan Israel and the entire Arianespace team for another successful launch of a Maxar Solutions satellite. This is the 64th launch of a Maxar satellite on an Ariane rocket, beginning with the launch of Eutelsat 503 in 1983. Durant ces 37 années, Maxar et Arianespace ont travaillé ensemble.
During these 37 years, Arianespace and Maxar have worked together at the highest level of quality and service. During these years, we had collaborated very professionally together and resolved technical problems. And at this moment in our joint history, we have really developed a terrific partnership, which is great for our partners and clients. We had today a launch with, we also have signed up for a launch on Ariane 6.
Maxar is particularly proud of our successful delivery of the Eutelsat 7C satellite to Eutelsat. It is our first all-electric satellite. In addition, this is the first satellite of our second-generation lithium-ion power generation system, which provides increased performance and flexibility for our customers. Le développement et lancement de satellites représentent des milliers d'heures du travail.
The development and launch of a satellite represents hundreds of man-years, and I'd like to thank every employee and our subcontractors for their hard work on this project.
Based on Maxar's decades-proven 1300-class platform, Eutelsat 7C is equipped with 44 Ku-band transponders and a steerable antenna beam, which enables Eutelsat to adjust coverage as needed while the satellite is on orbit. The satellite also carries a highly innovative photonics payload, which will demonstrate technologies to enable more efficient payload designs in the future. Félicitations à toute l'équipe de cette mission réussie.
So, congratulations to all for this successful mission. Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, as our dear colleague from Maxar has spoken French, I will go on speaking my very special English, which has a slight flavor of French. So again, congratulations to all. I think we can celebrate tonight also the friendship between the US and Europe, because it's a perfect teaming. We have a US customer and a US satellite manufacturer, and a European customer and a European satellite manufacturer. And this is one of the beauty of Ariane, to do this kind of achievement. So July will be a very busy month for Arianespace. We will be back here in the Arianespace Center on July the 5th with Vega. It will be the 15th launch of our light vehicle, and it will be for the United Arab Emirates. After this very special event, we will be back on July the 24th, and it will be with Ariane 5, and we will then deliver for IS-34 for Eutelsat and IDRSC for Airbus. Thank you very much, and have a good night. Thank you very much.
So Ariane 5's second launch this year, a rousing success with our two new satellites, T-16 and Eutelsat 7C. Arianespace very proud and happy to continue helping these old customers, old friends in their space efforts. It's been an exciting evening. We're glad you could share it with us.
Very, very exciting. And a very, very big thank you to the teams who've worked so hard to make it possible to bring you this live video transmission of Arianespace's flight VA248.
Did you get the answer to the quiz question? How many kilometers did Ariane fly tonight?
17,000 approximately. I cheated, I looked on your sheets.
Yeah, I figured you did. That's too good for a beginner. 18,700 horizontally, 8,100 vertically. And thanks to Antoine and Remy and Thomas at the CBI who verified those figures for us. Manu, can we have the replay, please? Because we are going to say goodbye over the final shots of the launch replay. We'll bid you good evening as the two new birds wing their way home.
Goodbye, and thank you very much. And we look forward to being with you again very soon. À bientôt.
Over these final shots of Arianespace's fifth launch of the year, we'll say goodbye. Joshua Jampel with Lise, and on behalf of everybody here at the Space Center, we hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next time. Good evening, everybody.